All right, welcome to another episode of Ark Survival Ascended. I'm over here at the base. I did manage to breed a higher level animal, and I got it leveled up a little bit. It's not like the very best or anything, but I call her Lima. And I managed to tame one Bassie, a male Bassie, like 152. So what I'm trying to do is, like right now, I'm just going to go out and try to find a female Bassie so I can get a Bassie as opposed to this. So I'm not going to engage unless I have to. And I'm just going to go Bassie hunting, basically, which is what you do. And I put a lot of attack into this animal. The only thing that can kill me really is a jellyfish. You just have to be careful with the jellyfish. Alright. Now I have a video that Big Ward made that I'm going to listen to. I'm going to start it up. I was listening to it, but I remember that we still haven't had a good video in a while. So warning, y'all are under a spell. Big Ward the genius.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Today is Saturday, my bad. Saturday, October 26, 2024. Back with another episode. Thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'm at the barbershop with my son, getting him his cut. I got mine. He said he wanted a cut, which I already know when to get him a cut. But he just said he wanted a cut. That made me proud. Because at first, it was just me telling him when he needed a cut. And I bring him, get his hair cut. It's been a ritual for me and my son since he's been born. I bring him to get his cut. Every now and then his mom would take him and it would piss me off. Don't do that. That's between the father and his son to go to the barbershop to get his hair cut. And she said, okay, I ain't mean no harm by it. I just figured you was at work and you know, whatever. I ain't gonna do that no more. So I appreciate his mom. It's a small thing. She did it twice. I had to let her know, don't do that. That's between father and son. That's our time. We go to the barbershop. You know, I've been doing it since he was a baby. Well, when he was 1, you ain't supposed to get a baby. You know, whatever the age that was. I gave him his first haircut. I cut it. It wasn't the greatest, but it meant the world to me. And so now, 12 years later, we still carrying on the tradition, father and son at the barbershop. It's beautiful. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with y'all before I go off into that, this ain't doom and gloom here. Or it could be, depending on how you look at it. I was watching, which I'm going to make a video on that, this Kamala Harris rally she did in Texas where Beyonce was there and all the people just showed up. It was packed, y'all. And you would think, some people think they was there for her, for Kamala. Her rallies don't pack out. I don't know I don't know what y'all done heard. Her rallies be empty. But this one was full. Like the one in Atlanta was full when they had Megan Thee Stallion and Quavo and all of them. So she figured out how to get a rallies packed. So this was she had Beyonce. Right. So here the people thinking that they could get a free Beyonce concert. I was reading comments on some of the videos of people saying, I'm not voting for her, but I'm going to see Beyonce. I read it. I already voted, they said. I already voted for Trump. But I love me some Beyonce. And I'm going to go watch Beyonce for free. Oh, but hold up. It was a little razzle dazzle. Beyonce just spoke for a little while and dipped. Wasn't no concert, baby. People were pissed.
Oh, boy.
People started leaving.
Damn.
Some boo.
You hear that? She
When
promised a
Miss Kamala got
concert
up there.
and she bailed.
Y'all
Or
gonna
she
see
didn't
it?
do it.
She
It's
got
bullshit.
booed at her own rally. I ain't talking about 2 or 3 Trump supporters that infiltrated. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about loud boos from the crowd. Boo! So she went into her little spiel. Her main point of focus, abortion. Because that's all you women's care about, right? Y'all don't care about the economy, the borders, crime, your bills, money in your pocket. You don't care about none of that. All y'all want to do is unalive them children. Yes, I said children or children, depending on what part of the South. I'm from the South. All y'all want to do is unalive them children, them children. That's all y'all care about. Right? That's what Miss Harris thinks. And I'm looking around. That's why I came up with this conclusion as to why. There's still people, a lot of people, millions of people, still supporting her. They would her. Despite the Democratic, demonic platform. Yes, people. One day, I was slapped in the face and woke up to the fact, damn, this platform is demonic,
It's a different
satanic.
turtle.
And I've been
That's
following
an
them
interesting turtle.
all my life as far as since I've been old enough to vote. I've been on this platform right here. I didn't know. Or if I did know, I blindly followed it anyway. And I asked myself, how? Because they ain't hiding it. So I asked myself, how did I follow along and agree to this mess? How was I down with this? How was I okay with what the Democrats stand for? And how is it that there's still so many people that's okay with what the Democrats are about? Anything, that's the anything goes party. Do whatever you want to do over here. No morals, no hey. And you got people that's supposed to be Christian, supposed to be followers of Christ, supposed to be moral people. They even talk about how wicked and evil the Republicans are, and how evil and wicked Trump is. Trump don't go to church. Trump don't read his Bible. Trump don't love the Lord. That's what Democrats saying. Because they believe they are. They believe they are Christian. They believe that they are following along with what the law say. The law
I'm not seeing a lot of Bassie.
say. Democrat, yeah.
I killed a bunch when I went through the
They
first
honestly
time.
believe that they are the true Christian.
I thought they would have respawned
And still
by now.
Democrat. Even Kamala said, you don't have to
Oh, that's
let go of your
that's
faith,
a Dunkleosaurus.
your beliefs, and still support abortion. You can still be a Christian and still support abortion, unaliving unborn children,
Unaliving? What the fuck term is that?
the ones who God loved the most, the babies.
You're either killing them or you're not.
Come unto me,
unalive.
the little children. You know, that God,
Shit,
that
that
the
was
Democrats claim, they, you know, the so-called Christian Democrat. The hypocrisy.
God damn. That's a
To
new
call
fish.
yourself
That was kind of scary.
a Christian, which means you follow the Bible, which you believe the word of God is the Bible. Now, if you're somebody that don't believe that, I ain't talking to you. I'm talking about you people that claim to believe that the word of God is the Bible and that you live by God's word. You're a Christian. You follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, who's supposed to be the Son of God according to what you claim to believe, but yet you're a Democrat, and the Democrat platform says otherwise. The Democrat platform say we don't believe in no Jesus and God and all that around here. We don't do that. The Bible say again, to the alphabet community. This is not my teaching. This is not what I'm saying. I'm saying for the people who claim to follow the Bible say homosexuality is an abomination. Big War don't say that. Big War, and I told y'all my beliefs on homosexuality. I believe y'all was born like that. I don't believe you choose to be gay. And I don't have no problem with you. I don't judge. I don't talk down. Long as you, I treat y'all like I treat anybody else. If you ain't effing with me, I ain't effing with you. I don't care who you are, gay or straight. You treat me right, I'll treat you right. That's all that matters to me. I don't care nothing about who you with behind closed doors. Just leave the kids alone. That's all I say. They go for gay or straight. Leave the babies alone. Consenting adults, have at it. But the Bible say it's an abomination. So if you are a Christian, you cannot be a Democrat. Because the Democrat Party is for what the Bible is against. But yet you claiming to be a Christian. Again, let me repeat this. I am not talking down on people that's in the community. I'm not coming for the community. I'm coming for the fake Christians. That's Democrats. That's what I'm coming for.
I'm not having any luck.
I got gay family members, gay friends, all my life. Grew up, when I played with gay people.
Shit.
I ain't gonna name them on here because they still, that's their private business. But we cool to this day. Like brothers. But in the community. I could care less. He ain't never came on to me like that. People done accuse me of being gay because I'll hang with it. I don't care. I thought he was the best of them. He do too. He will beat the brakes off you with these. He ain't one of them soft ones. He's still a man. He's just attracted to the same sex. He that type of gay dude.
That's an alpha. I don't want to fuck with him.
Hey, we still cool. He watching the video. He know where I stand on the community. He know I ain't against nobody that ain't against me. I love who love me. That's it. My point is, for those who you kind of slow, if you claim to be a Christian, you can't condone that, or anybody else that condones that. See, I don't go by all that, so that don't matter to me. So I ain't claiming that. So therefore, I can accept the gay dude. I don't claim all that stuff. I believe in God, but I don't go by all that stuff there. That says, homosexuality is an abomination. I say homosexuality, they was born like that. Some of y'all come against me and say, I'm crazy. Nah, big boy, they chose. I ain't finna argue with y'all about it, what another man do. Talk to him. I asked gay folk what happened. Or, did you choose to be gay? I go by what they say. The ones I know say they didn't choose to be that way. I'm going to go by, take their word for it, not yours if you straight. How you know what a gay man thinking if you straight? So, what gay people told me, but they didn't choose to be that way. And I'm going to take their word for it. And I don't give a shit. My point is, if you're a Christian, you don't condone that. Because the Bible say, you say you follow the Bible say no. So I'm asking myself, how these people that claim to be Christians, love the Lord, follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, but yet they down with the Democrat platform, that for unaliving the unborn, homosexuality, and any other little thing you want to get down with.
It's called being a hypocrite.
They for it.
It's called being a hypocrite.
And I came to the conclusion.
That's all.
I came to say, you know what?
They're everywhere.
Just like you, Big War.
I've been
when you were
hypocrite
following,
too, man. Everybody has.
These people that still down with them now, even though it's plain as day. All the Hollywood weirdos are Democrats. The P. Diddy, vote or die. Remember that? P. Diddy, Democrat. All the Hollywood weirdos are Democrats. If you're conservative, they don't want you around in Hollywood or Hollyweird. So, I asked myself, how did I go along with that for so long, knowing what I know now? And why is it the people that still down with the Democrats can't see what the hell going on? And the answer is, I was, and y'all still are, under a spell. A demonic spell.
Finally.
Big boy, you done went out the deep end. You crazy, big boy.
152 female. Perfect.
Call me what you want.
Same level and everything.
I was under a spell.
Awesome.
And anybody that's rocking with the Democrats right now, knowing what they stand for, and you still go to bat for them. You be ready to fight anybody that's against the Democrat. Y'all don't care what they talking about. When they talk about unaliving baby, you cheer. You clap. You love it. You under spell. A demonic spell has been cast upon you. I was under that same spell. I know it because I'm not anymore, and I can't understand what was I thinking. Now I know. Y'all ain't got to believe in all that stuff. Hey, I'm just making video. I'm Big Ward on YouTube. Big Ward, the genius at that. Get it right. When you say Big Ward, say the genius. Get it right. Y'all in the spell, baby. Y'all claim to be Christian, and you following behind people whose platform is so
I have a male 152.
It ain't even
This
funny.
is a female
And they don't even
152.
hide it. This woman riding around in her rallies, her main talking point is abortion.
So I should be able to breed at
And
least
y'all
a level
know
200
damn well
something
Jesus ain't for no abortion.
with imprint.
But you claim to be a Christian. And you're a Democrat. You know Jesus ain't for... You really think Jesus wants you to kill your unborn child? You really think that? Jesus, the one in the Bible. You really think you go to Jesus and say, Jesus, man, first of all, I had sex out of marriage. I wasn't married, and you already said don't do that. I did it anyway, Jesus. The Jesus you're talking to now. You're going to walk up to Jesus and say, Jesus, I'm a follower of yours. I love you, Lord. I'm talking about that. And Jesus first going to look at you like, what did you just say? I was speaking in tongue, Lord. You supposed to know what I don't know what the hell that was Jesus going to tell you. I don't know what that was. But anyway, you're going to say, Lord, 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 Jesus. I did something I wasn't supposed to do last night, Jesus. A couple of weeks ago. I laid up with a man I wasn't married to, Jesus. I know you told me don't do it, but you forgive me of my sin, don't you? Okay. And I got pregnant, Jesus. And I don't want it. So I'm going to unalive it. Are you okay with that? And Jesus is going to say, oh yeah, I'm fine. Go ahead, brother. Don't do it. No problem. I'll see you in heaven. Is that how you think that conversation going to go? No. And if you think that way, ain't nothing Christian about you, baby. You're a fraud. That's why I don't respect a lot of y'all. Now I'll tell you to your face, you're a fraud. I done called pastors out. They don't speak to me to this day. I done had pastors that done tried to get me to blow their backs out. Dudes! They know it. You know who you are. I don't play with y'all. And God ain't mad at me because God know who I'm talking to when I'm talking to one of you frauds. He don't even rock with y'all, so a man of God, I got plenty of respect for you. Y'all know who y'all are. I ain't studying you. God ain't studying you either. So, y'all in the spell, baby. If you didn't know it, now you know it now. If you're a Democrat and call yourself a Christian, you under spell. You ain't got to believe me. The law gonna tell you, sooner or later. Get it? Got it? Good.
Damn it, it's going down. God damn it.
You gotta hear about this. Go from idea to illustration faster with generative AI in Adobe Illustrator. Generate custom graphics, create seamless patterns, and instantly fill shapes with detail and color. Try Illustrator today.
Shit, that's a 224.
You won't be sorry.
Man. It's going to take a moment. Yeah, I don't have the... Not interested in taming these. At least not for now, anyway. I am interested in trying to get out. Let's see. Anything else trying to attack my ass? No, not hungry yet. I have to wait for it to be hungry. You know, it's a passive tame. I'm using the best stuff I've got. But these things keep interfering. Come on, move. I can't chomp. If I chomp, I lose taming efficiency. God damn it. Fucking thing's embedded in there. Son of a bitch. God damn it. Oh, there's one alive here. Come on. Not hungry yet? Shit. First couple of pieces of taming food take a while to get in there, but after that it goes faster. Big Ward. Thumbs up, Big Ward. Lived experience, true challenges of moving beyond tokenism. This is from Invisible People.
A homeless person at
About
a
homelessness.
homeless event. Oh my gosh. People would feel uncomfortable. Well,
Right.
maybe they should feel uncomfortable. What they're saying may be disruptive, but we have to disrupt what we're doing because it's not working.
Generally within this sector have come up with a definition of success at the expense of the ordinary story. I never fully appreciated at the time the power dynamic that went into those of us working in the field who controlled access to a bunch of resources being the ones who asked the questions, compared to when we got someone with lived experience to go talk to people with living experience. Much deeper engagement. We really have to figure out even context of engagement. We do have to figure out ways of also not equating one person's experience to all people's experiences, how people's voice is shared, and what they want to say.
Ian's back, and we are talking about the lived experience of homelessness. If you're not connected to the homeless sector, that's just a fancy way of saying homeless or formerly homeless people. Over the last couple of years, lived experience of homelessness has become a very popular conversation, but it's still mostly tokenism. We got to get to where we're not just listening to homeless people, but empowering them to make decisions that affect their own lives. This is a very candid conversation. I think you're going to like it. As we're going, I'm replaying it in my head, and it's kind of a separate topic. So it's good that we're going to take the time to unpack this.
And our topic is,
And I'm blaming you
as you should.
because you did a video on this.
Yes, I did.
Ian has a YouTube channel.
I do. So inspired by so much of the great work that Mark is doing with Invisible People,
Oh, I'm honored.
I decided that probably the best medium to be able to reach people these days isn't an antiquated blog. I used to be a blogger. But to take some of the same energy and insights that I used to put into the blog and start putting it on YouTube. So at Ward Code Consulting is the YouTube channel and rants and commentary and research summaries and micro trainings.
So, lived experience is sexy.
Well, it's all the rage in some circles.
I am nervous about this one because as we're driving down here, I said, eventually you're going to get me in trouble.
Yes.
But really, I'm just going to get myself in trouble and blame you.
Okay. You wouldn't be the first person to blame me for something that they have done.
No, I mean, this is it's probably not any more touchy than the housing first that we just covered. But you did a video on lived experience. I, as a formerly homeless person, have some very strong opinions on this. I've worked with a lot of organizations developing lived experience programming, if you would, or committees, and I'm sure you have too. Mm-hmm. Some really good, some just, wow, what are these people thinking? Your video,
which is going to be a little bit better,
put in my mind level, something we should do a podcast about. You know, when I started Invisible People, it was a couple of things. It's the general public had no connection to homeless people.
Right.
I mean, no positive connection. They would see a homeless person flying a sign in an exit ramp and immediately judge them to be a drug addict, a criminal, whatever. So I thought it was very important by putting up stories of homeless people that people would be able to relate to homeless people.
Right.
But there was also service providers, politicians, also did not have any direct connection with the people they're making decisions about.
Right.
Then what was it, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? Lived experience became the sexy thing. You had webinars and conference sessions. And here we are several years later, and I know of a couple of lived experience committees or communities that have engaged very positive, but most of them are still tokenism.
Yeah, I think a lot are still in the realm of tokenism. A lot are exploitive, almost, in terms of they want some gravitas to be able to say we engage with people with lived experience, but the rules that they gave people or the way that the information was filtered wasn't necessarily sincere or accurate at the end of the day. Or I think the other thing that we're seeing a lot of, Mark, is we are asking people with lived experience to take on the burden of failures in our system and tell us how to unscrew them up without providing a whole bunch of context, history, understanding, supports, guardrails, trauma therapies, etc.
Yeah.
So I think that's happening. And the other thing that I think is happening kind of at the same time that we're bringing in people with lived or living experience, and I do make a distinction between those two. Yeah. Lived as it happened and is done, living as I'm still in it.
You used that for the first time that I heard in the video, and I liked it.
Because I think there's a distinction there, too, because as people work after their experience of homelessness and find ways of living that are meaningful and reconnecting and those sorts of things, perspective is very different than when you're in the throes of where am I going to sleep tonight, what am I going to eat? And both are valuable, but they're very different. Yeah. But the other thing that's kind of happening here that we're not really talking about, there are many people I know in this sector who are survivors of things that are felt daily but spoken about never. I think that our sector actually recruits, attracts a whole bunch of volunteers and staff who have experienced housing instability, who have experienced issues that often come with housing instability. But they don't lead with lived experience. They don't want to discuss their lived experience. It would be re-traumatizing for them to go through the process of even saying, I stayed in a shelter, or, you know what, I stayed on this person's couch or floor and I hardly knew them, or guess what, I slept with someone so I would have a place to stay, or whatever. Like those sorts of things people don't want to talk about out loud because it's traumatizing. And so I think that there actually is, in my experience, more lived experience than we give credit for, but they're not leading with it. And therefore, we nullify that voice. And we celebrate those who are often pressured to live their trauma out loud. And by living their trauma out loud, I don't even think we're getting an empathetic response in most instances. Yeah. We're getting tokenist, sympathetic responses. We're throwing around phrases like survivor for people in those places, but not talking about those who have survived and made their kind of career or didn't come back with lived or living experience. And we're being really selective in terms of who we want to be these voices, right? So if we only have like one spot on a board for personal lived experience, and it's a 18-member board. I just made up a number because boards can be all different sizes. That's one of 18, and yet the other 17 board members at times might be say, so what do you think? And the pressures that come with being like, how am I supposed to represent everybody as a sample size of one must, in some instances, be enormous, but it's certainly distorting the reality for so many other people. I mean, my rambling to start here, there's some great aspects, but there's some parts that really concern me about lived experience.
So for those listening or watching, there's going to be rants here, but I promise you, at some point, we're going to give recommendations on how to engage lived experience programming so that it's positive for everybody involved.
Agreed. Thank you.
So you start off with something that just drives me crazy, because the homeless sector, and I understand why they do this, they primarily want people that are in housing. And it's always the same people. People have heard me rant on Twitter or seen me rant on Twitter countless times that it's always the same 20 people. It's really about 10. They're on the webinars and on the stages and on the panels, and there's hundreds of thousands of homeless people and even more that are in housing. And I get it, because if you have a homeless person at a homeless event, oh my gosh, people would feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Well, maybe they should feel uncomfortable. So my friend Addie, who I hired to work the virtual reality at the last NEH, is homeless. And I wish more vendors would hire people that are homeless. Why I bring up Addie is because none of the conferences bring in homeless people. So the National Law Office does. I think the National Healthcare does. But most of the conferences do not bring in homeless people. So Addie's first, when she was accepted on a scholarship, she was in housing, right? And she lost her housing, but was the first homeless person that brought in because she lost her housing,
right,
which is a no-no, right? And to your point, so people that are formerly homeless have an important voice because they can talk about retention. Because once you're in housing, that's a whole new set of challenges. And they can talk about that. But if you've been in housing 10 years, you can't talk about what's happening today in homelessness. And with the criminalization, it's different. It is different. So both voices are important, but we only feature one, and we only feature a few of them because it's safe. I know that person. I know that person is going to show up. I know, and it can be done because I used to speak at tech conferences and bring homeless people on stage. And yeah, I would, okay, you got to pick them up early, make sure that they have a full stomach. You know, if you're doing a webinar, you got to make sure that they're close to Wi-Fi. You know, there's some challenges, but it's worth it. And I think both voices are important, but we only highlight 10 or 20 people.
I think there's reasons why.
Yeah.
I think we, generally within this sector, have come up with a definition of success that we like to promote at the expense of the ordinary story. Right? So instead of saying, here's Charlie, we got him housed, it was his third time, we're seeing promising changes this time, Charlie is still using, but he's using less, and he's still struggling with some money management, but with some supports he's really improving. I mean, Charlie doesn't get his chance to tell his story, right? Because he's seen as still a work in progress. Instead, we want to tell the story of Jerome, who got housed, stayed housed,
Ta-da! A miracle.
is getting ready to buy a used truck, has visitation with his kids, is going to AA meetings, is participating in a Bible study, is getting a security certificate to work as a security guard, whatever. Like, we say Jerome's success. Oh, we want him as a person with lived experience on our board or on our advisory group or on our program design committee. But the first guy who's still struggling, we don't want him, right? And then we'll justify it and we'll say, because they're in two different places. And I will say, but both have validity, right? 20 years ago, when I was in a space of operating a large program, I couldn't fathom doing it without the voice of living experience. But what I found was, if I or one of my colleagues went out and talked to people and said, what do you want, how do you want it, when do you want it, why do you want it, we would get very pat answers that were very protected. We would get a lot of the, it would be great if someone did A or B, but almost like an aw shucks. And I never fully appreciated at the time the power dynamic that went into those of us working in the field who controlled access to a bunch of resources being the ones who asked the questions. Like, I really struggled with not understanding that to a full extent for quite a while. Compared to when we got someone with lived experience to go talk to people with living experience, and the person with lived experience had been out of homelessness for quite some time and was doing well and had a beautiful array of supports, both natural and professional, in their life, so that they were well as they were doing the work with people with living experience.
At higher levels.
Much richer commentary, much deeper engagement, right? Not tokenistic. Told us all sorts of things we didn't want to hear, but also had great ideas on how to fix it. And it wasn't just like the you shalt or else sort of stuff. It was like there was an appreciation of how difficult it was to operate, a very large street outreach program and do better work in that space. And that really taught me so much around this experience. One, you're only going to do well if you have a good feedback loop, but that your feedback loop needs to be diverse. Because here's what's happening, Mark. Our success stories are actually limiting the number of voices. We are controlling the number of influences. Two, if we had any other sort of study where we're looking for input, we would either want diverse voices, or if it was an academic study, probably look for some sort of representative sample. Sample sizes of 1, because we deemed you to be successful, are not going to be representative of the entirety of people served by a program. But we creating policies on those single voices. Some places we are essentially revamping investment strategies based upon that one voice. We sometimes are taking that small group of 10, as you described, and saying, okay, you redesign parts of our system, but we're not going to give you any training or supports to achieve that outcome. So you don't know, like, the context of where the funding comes from, or you don't know that, for example, housing and urban development says you can use the money for A, B, and C, but you can't use it for D, E, and F, right? And there is a technical part of the work of responding to homelessness that we either have to skill people up to get that, or we have to blend one skill set with the other.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody who we both know and work with about this, and looking at my own life, what made it different for me is, yes, I was homeless, but then I went and I worked as a case manager. I worked as a family case manager. I worked as an outreach case manager. So I saw the barriers and challenges that nonprofits have. So I saw both sides. I don't know how to give that education to everybody. On the same topic, I think one thing that has happened that's really good is peer support. Where outreach will go out with a peer support worker.
Yeah.
Now, when I tried to get a job in the homeless sector, they wouldn't hire me because I was once homeless, right?
Yeah.
Now, we'll hire you as a peer support. So peer support workers are going out with masters of social work. I've heard from peer support workers they're frustrated because they're doing the work, basically. They know how to become a buddy or streetwise and, make connections with homeless people. Yet the masters of social work is getting paid because they went to college. So there's a disparity in revenue. Mm-hmm. So I immediately thought about this, and I went, okay, well, service providers should help that peer worker go to college so that they could get the education so that their pay is more equal. Maybe there's other solutions.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think trained and supported is
applying
always a good
morality
idea.
to business.
I think improving skills.
The only reason they even have
skills
that
that
outreach
people
is
might have
because they're
had but
making
didn't
money
have
off
a
the
theory
state.
to kind of ground it in is helpful. And I think
You have
peer
to work it
supports
into
really
a
exist
business
along a
model.
continuum, right? From
You have to work it into something
the
that
completely
greed gets
informal.
its hands,
I didn't ask you to be a peer, but
gets
guess
its
what?
hands on it. That's the
You've
way
been
it
at
is
the
in the
shelter for a
world.
while. Someone new showed up
They
for the
don't do
first
anything
time,
out
and you
of
decided to
morality
take
or
them under your
ethics.
wing and show
It's
them the
all
way
for
around.
money.
Yeah.
Right? So there's the informal stuff
Every
that
shelter,
is not
every
necessarily needed to be
organization
trained or supported,
is
nor
profit,
necessarily
even though they say they're
compensated.
nonprofit.
Right through to what you're describing,
They're
which
doing
is
something
if
to
I'm going to
get
put you on a
somebody
clinical team as a peer support worker, I better provide a level of compensation for what you're actually contributing to the team and the volume of work that you're doing for the team. And that's where I'll say, hey, in some of these instances, it's not just an education barrier. It's really it's a caste system. Within the sector, there's
you're homeless,
a
nobody
level
wants
of
anything to
social
do with
dynamic
you.
that exists that says,
I took a
I
homeless
am
guy
more
in
worthy.
because I knew the guy.
Because
if
of
I didn't
a
know
higher
the guy, I
education, as
wouldn't
opposed
take him
to
in.
we have different worthiness because
You know?
you went to the
I
school
thought
of
he
the
had
streets,
the potential
and I
to
went
get out of
to
his
such and such a
situation.
school and
He
got my
didn't.
degree.
You
Well,
remember driving
he
down,
did, but he
I
fucked it
mentioned
up too
that
bad,
I'm nervous because I'm going to get in trouble.
Is it about to happen?
It's about to happen,
Okay.
probably. As you were saying, it's one of the issues that I hate the term lived expertise. It's a cute phrase that housed people with no experience of homelessness. Somebody said, oh, they have lived expertise, and it's stuck. And they all said, one of my favorite things, not this NEH, but the NEH before, where they're starting to more facilitate groups of people with lived experience, and they revolted against it. They hated it. I mean, they even were trying to organize against it. And it's like, if you're going to call me an expert, then fucking pay me what you pay the consultants who you think are experts. I mean, just don't say a cute phrase. Mm-hmm. If you're going to say I'm an expert, treat me as an expert. But they don't, right? And homeless people hate it.
Yeah,
But my one point on this,
go ahead,
because I think it's so important, and it is that they just picked this phrase and started using it without ever asking homeless people or formerly homeless people, what do you think of this?
Yeah, so this is one of those instances where I can draw a distinction between lived experience and lived expertise, right? And I actually do think both exist, but to your point, I think the expertise phrase has been applied en masse to some individuals for whom it is an inappropriate labeling. And I also think it's a term that has been adopted by some people with lived experience to elevate their profile because of their own ego or their own agenda. And I've seen that. And that last thing I said is probably going to get me in trouble. But I want to explain a little bit further. For those that have expertise, it tends to be, in my opinion, people that have been at the work of advocacy as someone who's used services for a period of time, who is not just self-interested, who is looking out for a broad range of a constituency or population, not just people just like me, who know more about system dynamics, like how things are funded, how decisions are made politically, why some things don't get funded even though they're good ideas, and why some things that are bad ideas get funded, like understand the politics of this. Yeah. Also, stay engaged with people who are experiencing homelessness and have really advanced programs and policy in the space. And I will say there's an expertise with that you are absolutely right, Mark, should be compensated at an appropriate level. That is, it's like you're a lived experience consultant get paid a consultant wage or hourly for what it is that you're doing because you're offering something of value. But that is very different. Very different than, I would like you to talk about your experience of our services. Or I would like you to sit on our committee. Especially in the second instance, we're not providing a lot of training. We're not providing a lot of support. We're not providing a lot of guidance. And then we're wondering why some people, like you described, are getting really angry that they're not being heard, they're not being seen, because the whole point wasn't to leverage anything that they really had of value. The whole point was to tick a box on an application saying we had a person with lived experience on our panel or our committee or our board.
And before we go any farther, and I hope people are listening, if you're, this is so important because it's rarely talked about, is we put homeless people and formerly homeless people on pedestals. And then when we select someone new with a story, we just kick them to the curb. And there's no support for them. I've also seen homeless people and formerly homeless people go from a park or an RV all of a sudden to the spotlight, to where they're, celebrated. There's no support for them. And it has negatively affected people.
Yes.
Where, and I could see, whether it be egos or self-esteem or whatever, all of a sudden you're nothing. I mean, you're literally nothing. You're spit on by society.
Yeah.
And now you're at the mayor's house.
Yeah.
And you're talking to a group of people, right? That, not everybody's going to be able to make that transition in a healthy way. And I have seen it a couple of times in my own interactions with homeless people and formerly homeless people. One of the strongest, there was a homeless mom living in a van with her kids. And I was working aggressively to get her out of homelessness. And she had become pretty much a celebrity. This is back in change.org days. She was blogging. She was getting up there on social media and everything. And then I realized she was roadblocking the path to get out of homelessness, because then she wouldn't be a homeless advocate. And she was scared, what is that next step? And I'm just using that of one of many examples, and they're all a little different, but it's similar, that we put people on a pedestal and we don't even think about how that affects them. And when the next story comes along that is a better story, and we're going to have them go to the mayor's house, and the other person is going, why am I not being invited to speak to the mayor's house? You invited me last time. And they're kicked to the curb. And you got to understand, I'm sorry, I'm bunching this all up. I got so much passion. The best value of a lived experience program is what it provides to the homeless person. Because many of them are isolated. They're in their apartment with absolutely nothing to do. And I'm speaking at the mayor's house.
Yeah.
I'm going to conference on Capitol Hill Day, which is a dog and pony show. It's complete bullshit. But when homeless people tell me I'm going to see Congress, I'm like, I don't say what I think. I'm like, great, you're going to have a fun time. And they're like, oh my God, I made a difference, right? And that is the value of a lived experience program. But we never consider that. We just, what can we suck out of these people by having a lived experience committee?
Okay.
Did I tee you up?
Oh, a little bit. So you've talked so much about people with lived experience and the advisory groups and the conferences and that sort of stuff. If you were a homeless service provider, what would you need to get out of someone with lived experience?
Well, first, I would look at the lived experience program, which is something the homeless sector doesn't do, is what is the value to the people participating? I mean, there is value to the homeless sector, although I will say there's nothing a homeless or formerly homeless person can say that hasn't been said before.
Right.
So we're not listening.
Right.
But we need to also look at how a lived experience program or scholarship gives homeless people purpose. And that purpose, I mean, taking somebody to Congress where they're going to speak in front of a staffer, because you rarely get the actual politician.
Right.
You know, whether it influences change or not in our political system, it influences the self-worth and self-esteem of that formerly homeless person or homeless person. And to me, that is the biggest value. There is value in what lived experience programming gives to the homeless sector, but what's overlooked is the value lived experience programming gives to the homeless or formerly homeless person.
Yeah, I think you're bang on in terms of purpose and perhaps even some hopefulness, right? That if I can do this, what else am I capable of doing?
Right. I was out on the streets and now I'm giving back and helping.
So part of it was bringing back a memory. I have had the experience of working for someone who constantly wanted success stories, right? You got to feed the machine. Feeding the machine was elected officials, funders, general public. Like, they got to know. And a lot of this happened in the early days when the people said, like, we need to know early successes. And so the memory I have is of one of the guys we featured bawling in my office that he lost his housing and feeling like he had let us down. And so that idea of a pedestal and the crash that can happen, I think those feelings of failure are huge. And again, I'll go back to, we try to manufacture the story that we want people to hear rather than telling the general public or elected officials or funders the real reality.
Yeah.
To that point, I do think we've seen some national organizations do a good job trying to lift up people's voices in a supported context. And so I don't want us to throw out the opportunity to learn from people's realities, but it's got to be an open invitation to everybody, and the supports have to be there. So that I'm not just handpicking the stories I want to tell, that everybody has a story and they're just as valid, even if yours is more traumatic than another person's, et cetera, that they're all adding value. And then I think of organizations that have truly been empowered by having a voice. There's an organization in the Toronto area, they're called the Dream Team. And they're basically people who have had interactions with the mental health system, many of whom have also experienced housing instability or homelessness, who speak about that journey. But they have worked as a collective, so there's peers helping peers with professional supports helping them over a period of time, and very impactful stories. But that is still so very different from the reality that we're seeing in so many communities now, Mark, where it isn't a come all tell your story. It's not supported, and it is putting people on a pedestal. And when people are on a pedestal, there's also the issue of essentially being told that you can do no wrong, right? And so I've seen this on several boards now, where someone with lived experience is brought onto the board, or living experience is brought onto the board, and their behaviors at the board meeting are not aligned with either the culture of the board, the bylaws of the board, the identity of committees, those sorts of things. And instead of the same sort of accountability that I have for another board member who might act that way, I come up with the excuse and say, we can't have that hard conversation because they're a person with lived or living experience. So we start very much a patronizing approach to how we engage people, a very condescending approach. But it can also lead to dysfunction on boards and those sorts of things when we're not holding everybody accountable in the exact same way. So I really think if we're going to do this right, so let's get at some of the solution parts of this, but if we're going to do some of this right, we have to think through, what does a peer support truly look like for people providing peer supports? It's one. Two, we have to look at how do we marry expertise of someone who, let's say, has great technical knowledge of how funding works and regulation works with someone with lived experience. Like, how do we marry those things together as opposed to saying one is awesome and the other one is bad, or one is awesome and the other one is boring or invaluable? And I also think that in telling those stories, we as a sector have to be willing to listen to people that have alternate views of their experiences, right? So listening to people with living or lived experience who are critiquing our programs. I mean, this is where I say value in advisor groups. Like if you were redoing the standards of your shelter, so your policies and procedures, by all means, get a bunch of people who have gone through your shelter or a bunch of people in your shelter right now to read your policies and give you feedback. Like you're going to get no more honest answer than that, but get lots of it. Get like a whole group of people together. Give them some food and some resources, and give them a scribe who will take notes of what they're sharing, who's not affiliated with your organization, but whose total job is just to write down the things that they're hearing and feed it back to the group. That can add tons of value. You want to develop a new program, right? Let's say a housing support program for people for whom Housing First has not worked. Well, let's get a bunch of people for whom Housing First hasn't worked and ask them, what didn't you have that you needed? That has tremendous value.
Huge.
And is remarkably important. But it's back to when I ask you to do something you have neither the skills nor experience, and I thrust you into this other job and say, you must be able to figure this out, or you're going to be entirely fine, or just tell me if you need any supports. That's not the same as supporting people through a process to really leverage the gift that they can provide from a perspective that some people just don't have.
Yeah. Well, we've seen now lived experience being so, sexy that they're giving them, funding and a management of some kind of homeless program.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be generic on purpose to not throw somebody under the bus.
Yep.
But they don't get the training, and it's just, they're formerly homeless people. They should know how to run it. Here's a couple $1 million. Let's let them run it. And that's crazy. It's like getting a group of people together and saying, okay, we want you to fly this plane. We're not going to give you a manual or any training, or you can't even talk to this pilot, but you have lived experience of homelessness, so you should be able to flap your arms and fucking fly. Notice how I'm like turning into you?
Yeah.
You used to talk like
I
that.
did. I just, reversal. Okay. So.
Okay, guys. That's getting way too into it, but these guys are going off and all these other. This is important information, but I'm going to stop the video. I'm getting tired, so I have to stop recording. But if you guys want to continue watching, it's Invisible People. It was posted 10 hours ago, so it's lived experience, truth, challenges, and moving beyond tokenism. I mean, the system sucks. It's the jails, the entire system sucks. I mean, once people become parasites, they just keep getting that check and that's it. They don't do shit with their lives. They just spend money. And the other one is people are motivated to succeed, but they don't get the opportunity. Like I couldn't get a small business loan. I couldn't get any kind of real, I couldn't even get a PayPal credit card. And I've been with PayPal for decades. Literally, I've been paid with PayPal for decades. And I couldn't even get a fucking small credit card. I couldn't get a $100 credit card, man. So, just fuck that. Anyway, it's that's the video. You guys want to finish it up? That's up to you. But anyway, I'm going to sign off. We're at an hour. I'm getting tired. And I'd like to thank you for watching. I do appreciate your patience. And we have a male and female Bassie, but I was looking at the statistics. Although they're the same level, right? Here's a female. She's got 25.9. She has better health. He has better stamina. He has better attack. She has better food. So there's some room for consolidation there if I wanted to do that. Thing is, 152 is just a very low level. The max level is 240. So what you do is you're supposed to wait until you see something max level. And I know for a fact that it's going to be a long time before I see anything max level. And max level doesn't guarantee you get the ultimate stats. That's why I had to borrow creatures to breed with in addition to the wild stuff that I got. I finally got a super powerful consolidated creature. But hell, if I was going to be there trying to mutate that motherfucker. If it doesn't have an egg, if I can't put it here with an egg and hatch it, or if it can't put it in a egg incubator or some other fucking thing like that, I most definitely am not going to fucking be mutating it. It'd take forever. So, but the thing is, I do the very basic methodology. I don't do the advanced stuff. You know? They set these guys to automatically defend themselves. Put this one on neutral. You're already on neutral, right? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for watching again. Take care. Good night or good day.